Welcome back to some new petty revenge stories, where people get small victories over those that wronged them. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Cut the Tree. My neighbors have a fairly big tree and have branches hanging over our yard. I know I can't really say anything about it, so I annoyingly collect dead leaves and branches that often fall into my yard. I had enough and bought a pole saw and sawed off a few, until my neighbors excitingly ran up to me and said I can saw the whole tree off so it won't ever grow back. I blankly looked at him, hoping he would at least offer money or something, but I basically said I'm only sawing off what's on my side of the property. He kept trying to convince me I will never have to worry about branches if I cut off his whole tree. I kept saying no. He shut up for maybe an hour and then offered me a few skewers he happened to barbecue. This was literally our first time interacting, so it was pretty insulting. I declined his food and he got a bit hissy. I saw that there were a lot more branches left for me to saw off, so I thought even more it actually might be a great idea to saw their whole 20-foot tree. So I gladly went up to the neighbor and said, "You know what? I thought about what you said. I think it is better off if I cut down the tree, so I don't have to deal with it." And I even took the skewer he offered me earlier. His smile became bright again as I walked around the fence and went to town. Tree timbered down, I went to the neighbor and said, "Alright, glad to help. Have to go back to my yard to clean up." He became hesitant and said, "When can you clean my yard up?" "Clean your yard? You only told me to cut down your tree. This isn't my yard. I'm not cleaning this up." He instantly went red, and I could tell it was taking him a long while to process what he now has to deal with. I took my saw back and even told him it was a rental and have to return it soon. This past year it was left in his yard and wasn't touched. He just hired someone to simply get rid of it. Hasn't spoken to me since. I have to say his skewer tasted really good. The next story is called Only One Winner. There's a guy who works at my place who is 50% in the office, 50% out in the factory. About the same split as myself, give or take. When we're in the office, we take turns to make everyone a coffee or tea. British, obviously. And he always goes to the kettle and makes himself a hot drink, and nobody else. We get on well, but he can be a right jerk. And I started calling him out on never making tea for me, but I always make him coffee. He brushed it aside every time. 2 weeks ago, I took an A5 piece of paper and pinned it to the board behind my desk. I drew 2 lines across it, 2 columns, me and Danny. Every time I make him a drink, I will give myself a point, and every time he makes me one, I'll give him a point. When he came into the office and saw it, he was instantly annoyed. I was 1 point up before he even noticed I put it up, and he was not pleased. Since then, he's constantly making me cups of tea and coffee, and rubbing it in my face that he's beating me on points. I'm pretending to care about losing, whilst getting an endless stream of hot drinks made for me. It's like having a secretary at work since I put this chart up. I don't think he has any idea that I'm the one winning here. The third story is called Pizza Orders. This happened around 5 years ago. I was studying in a foreign country and lived in an apartment building full of other foreign students. The building was divided into 2, entrance A and entrance B. I am happily minding my own life, enjoying the student dream. I had a nice relationship with everyone, and I was the one taking care of minor problems affecting us, like turning back on the power if it suddenly stopped, setting the building heat during winter, taking care of the communal washing machines and dryer. Time passes, some tenants left and new ones come in. One evening, someone from outside rings my apartment. I'm surprised because I'm not expecting anyone. I answer and get greeted by a basic pizza delivery. I tell him it wasn't me and quickly figured out that it is probably for the B side of the building, since the apartment numbers were the same on each side. After a couple of seconds, I hear the ringing through the wall. It was an awful and loud ringing tone that would make you jump out of bed. At first I thought, oh, that's funny. Someone also in apartment 8 made a mistake while setting up his address. The thing is, it kept happening. Once, twice a week, and sometimes even more. At any time from lunch to midnight, I would get startled by this horrible noise. It started to get on my nerves, so I got his contact by my next door neighbor, apartment 9 of building A, who also was a piece of work, asking me constantly to borrow things from me without ever paying it back. He was also using my internet while setting up his own. The pizza eater tells me he tried to tell the drivers to ring at the second door. They are both next to each other, same size, etc. But that they don't listen. I don't believe him, and even proposed to translate into the local language how to find his apartment on his delivery app profile, but he declines. The same problem kept happening again and again. The other neighbor would also often knock on my door late at night to ask for stuff. I also remembered about the internet, and after looking up how to see how many devices are logged in, I discovered that multiple were using it for at least 2 months. This was the drop of water that made the vase spill. I waited for the exam period, forced every device to log off my internet router, changed my password, and the next time a pizza driver came to me, I took them. 2 already paid large pizzas. I hated it, but forced myself to finish one and gave the other to a friend. Obviously, this didn't go unnoticed. Apartment 9 guy kept sending me texts to get the new password. I need it for the exams, please. Meanwhile, the other guy was spamming me. Pizza thief, come out, I will mess you up. So I did come out of the building to see a small, scrawny guy fuming while rocking back and forth. I think seeing how much taller than him I was made him hesitate a bit. We actually never met before, and he probably just heard from his friends that I was just a big pushover. He told me it was not cool to steal his pizza, and I feigned ignorance, saying I also ordered pizza and thought they were mine. He asked for a refund, and I said, sure. You can ask your friend in apartment 9 to give you the money he owes me, and I will generously forgive the rest of his debt. I took my leave after wishing him good luck for his exams with a smile, and also told him to reconsider his taste in pizza. Then I sent a text to apartment 9, telling him he was the biggest leech I ever met, and that he should be ashamed, and also to never contact me ever again. They never bothered me again, and the next deliveries magically knew where to ring afterward. The next story is called The Bucket Woman. This is the story of how our street annexed petty revenge on the Bucket Woman for her bin curfew. 9 AM sharp on the morning of collection. I live next door to an empty property, but the Bucket Woman visits a lot to keep an eye on the place and make it look occupied, we think. In fact, she does such a good job, she might as well live there. One of Buckety's fixations is the rubbish bins. She believes the rubbish bins should be brought in by 9 AM on the morning of collection, otherwise it makes the street look messy. She's been known to passive-aggressively blockade driveways with empty bins, and even kicked one of our bins over when my partner wasn't quick enough to bring it in for her liking. This is a constant source of friction in the street. People work outside the home, they do shifts, or they are slackers like us with zero civic pride and other priorities. Our council supplies 4 bins. The general household waste is collected weekly. The green waste and paper recycling is collected fortnightly on alternate weeks, and the glass recycling once a month. So your average household will put out 2 or 3 bins for collection usually, not all 4, except for Buckety, who puts all 4 bins out every week, and then brings them in again the following morning at 9 AM sharp. Each week she puts out 4 empty bins and brings 4 empty bins in, so she thinks. Now, one of the fun activities in Australian suburbia is looking for extra bin space. Just before bedtime, you will often see your neighbors coming out in their PJs and slippers in the dark, carrying bags of rubbish or recycling that they don't have room for in their own bins. They scurry from bin to bin, looking for a bin with a bit of room to toss that last bit of rubbish in. Only the neighbors in our street know where there are 4 empty bins. And since the household waste is usually emptied before the 9 AM bin curfew, anyone looking for a bit of extra bin space knows there's some in the Bucket Woman's bin. It gets emptied before she arrives the next morning, and she's none the wiser. On nice nights, her bin even becomes a bit of a social gathering place. I have to admit, with recent delays in rubbish collection across the city, there was an air of nervousness in the street, and we thought we might get sprung. But our good luck held. The household waste was collected as usual, and the Bucket Woman still hasn't realized her neighbors retaliate against her bin regime by using her bin when she's not looking. The 5th story is called Trash Problem. In the mid-2000s, I lived in Austin in an apartment. In my building, the neighbor across the hall kept leaving his trash by his door. I know some apartments have a trash crew that comes by and picks up trash at tenants' doors, but this was not one of those communities. Luckily, our dumpster was very close to our building, and it's really no big deal to take it out. Anyway, said neighbor finds that too difficult and leaves his trash out, sometimes for days. It's hot in Austin, and trash smells, and I found it disgusting. This continues for a few weeks as I give it time to appear as a pattern, not a one-off event. I'm also not the type to complain to management to contact the offending neighbor. Leaving trash out is self-evidently stupid and lazy. Punishment for such laziness is not a verbal warning in my opinion. Something stronger is needed. So after about 3 weeks of this nonsense, I just started slicing the bottom of all the trash bags he left out. When the bag would be picked up, all the trash would spill out. It didn't take long for that problem to go away. The last story is called My Email Address. I have a very generic email address. First initial, last name, basic domain. I've had this email address for probably a decade. I use it for everything. And for the last 5 years, so has someone else. It started with random emails here and there, until they started getting more frequent and addressed to this guy. I finally hunted the guy down on social media after an email about a job had his information. He apologized and explained our email was very similar, but his had 2 numbers after it. I let it slide and it slowed down a bit, and if I got a random email, I just forwarded it to him. But then it picked back up. At one point I even got the documents for a closing of his house. It had all his personal information, social security number, bank info, everything. I did notify the lending company and they removed me from seeing the document, but I finally had enough. I stopped forwarding his emails. I've received tons over the last few years. Job interview? Bummer you missed it. Oh, you got a new job and this is your schedule? Have fun clocking in late. Receipts of payments? Oops, that's going to the trash. A reminder of car maintenance? Hope your car breaks down. Oh, and I also signed him up for numerous dating apps, magazine subscriptions and even a baby countdown. It's still going on, after almost 6 years, but this is my email address and I refuse to let him have it. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.